What's up, Lord's Gym family? Welcome back to another Faith and Fitness Friday. Today, we're going to talk about, we've been doing a lot of positive talks, and we're going to deal with maybe some possible negative feelings right now. The topic for today is going to be feeling forsaken or feeling forsaken from God, basically. Like when we get into situations that we feel lost and that He's not with us. And I know that He always is, but sometimes we get things weighed on our lives that really make us question things. And I want to dive into like how we can deal with that and how we handle that. And I have a very special guest today, Shauna. I've known her for a few years. Amazing person, also a great athlete, but a great human being. And
Thank you.
yes, amazing.
Right back at
Yeah,
you.
just pump you up, right?
There you go.
So there is a Bible verse always that goes with our topic, and I'm going to read it off right now. It's Psalm 13, 1 through 2. How long, Lord, will you forget me? How long will you hide your face from me? Woo! All right, Shauna.
That's deep.
Yeah. When you hear that, what's the first thing that comes to you, comes to mind?
I think, how long will you hide your face from me? I feel like that really resonates with me. So, I am the mother of a drug addict, and he has been an addict for well over 10 years. He's been um, on the streets, homeless shelters, rehabs, sober living. I mean, you name it, a million chances type deal, right? He's currently incarcerated right now, and he has like meth induced schizophrenia. And so I think being a mother, you always worry about your kids, but having a child that is a drug addict that has done the things that my son has done and how bad it's gotten, it's hard to look at your life as like blessed. Like, oh, I'm blessed. Like, God has my back. There are times where I'm like, he's not just my child, God, he's yours. Like, help us, like, do something. And I've had my faith tested so many times because I feel like if it's not tangible and like I can't touch it or like I can't see it, then to me it's not real. Because I've had a life of sorrow. Like, I feel like I've lived like 5 lives. But my son suffering and me not being able to reach him and it not getting better also kind of drove me down a road where I just really felt like God had forsaken me and he had forgotten about me and my son.
Yeah, and for some people who may not have struggled with this at the level that you have, or that I put my parents through, or that I'm going through with my son now as well.
Right.
For people who don't understand, their first thought might be, why is your son in a homeless shelter? Why is he living on the streets? How is he homeless? Like he doesn't he have you? Why can't you help him? What would you say to those people?
So, that's a great question. And basically it's protecting yourself, honestly. It's protecting your boundaries, it's protecting your other children, your spouse. When someone is that far out in their addiction and their mental health is that erratic, you can't reach them where they're at.
Yeah, agree.
And there has been times where I have been afraid. I mean, and every single time he would come to our house, almost every single time he would leave in handcuffs.
Yeah, because we do a lot of homeless outreach here, and
Yeah.
we deal a lot with the homeless community. And something that I get asked, or people say, oh, it's so sad, they must have no family. And I think a lot of the homeless people that we see out there, obviously everyone has family,
Sure.
but either they've burned their family too many times, right?
Yeah.
Or their families just put their foot down and said, I'm not enabling this behavior anymore. You're going to figure it out on your own, no matter how hard it gets out there,
Yeah.
which is hard as parents to allow that to happen.
Oh
right?
my God, super hard. I mean, my mom and I enabled him big time. I mean, I think grandparents have it even harder because, grandparents have such a connection to their grandchildren. And, at one point I was trying to put, the iron fist down and be like, no, and having like these strict boundaries. But then my mom's like, no, I feel bad for him. So I'm going to give him all these things. And then it causes addiction with a child literally will rip a family apart. Because you're fighting with the mom, the dad doesn't agree with what you're doing, or you don't agree with what they're doing. And I think that the kid gets lost in that and they see the confusion between the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, and the parents. So the person that's like holding strong, saying this behavior is not acceptable, you need to get honest, you need to get into those rooms,
Yeah.
and you need to get help, you turn into the bad guy.
Totally.
Right?
100%.
You're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then when they do come to your house and they steal and they threaten you and they thrash your home, who in their right mind would want someone in their home like that, right?
Yeah, totally.
So there has been times as a parent where I have had to do the unthinkable. I have had to take him to a homeless shelter, and I've had to look out that window and drive away as his mother. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. It is the worst feeling in the world, because to me, in my heart, all I want to do is run, because he's my baby. All I want to do is just run and scoop him up. But I have to remember in those moments that, this is me loving him. This is me loving him, and this is me loving myself and loving my other child that I have to protect.
Totally. And those lines get blurry. It gets really blurry.
It does. It gets very, very
like,
muddy.
am I loving my child, or am I forsaking him, right? Am I forsaking my child? Which kind of touches on what we're talking about here, right? But sometimes we have to let our kids go through hard things for them to grow. And what I think, and again, I'm no expert in any of this, but what I tell myself, at least, and it does make sense, is when I'm going through really hard things, I try to keep the mind of, there's a reason God's putting me through this. There's a reason I'm having to go through this struggle so I can grow. And it's hard to digest sometimes, because I want to think, well, what did I do to deserve this?
Exactly.
Right? I didn't do anything to deserve this.
Exactly.
But maybe there's other things in my life that are extremely blessed, and I didn't do anything to deserve that either.
I love that you say that, because I think it's taken me years to get to that point. I have so many, amazing things going on in my life. I mean, obviously, as you know, I've got, the stuff that happened to my husband recently, but that's life. And that's what I've really realized, is that life is going to keep hitting you, some people more than others. But I didn't come this far just to come this far. I know that I was born to have a good life, and to live to the best of my ability, to find peace and to find happiness. And I do have a responsibility to my other child, and to my family, to be happy. The homeless shelter thing with my son didn't happen till years later. I mean, it was just jail, prison. I mean, it was like years down the line. But there were times where I was like, I'm not going to lie, I literally felt like I did not believe in God, because I was like, why is this happening in my life? Why are you not helping me? Why are you not helping him? But as time went on, and I went through therapy, and did the steps of AA, I really learned a lot about, he is God's child. He's not just mine. And this isn't my journey. It's his now. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Like, he's going to be 30 later on this month. Like, everyone has their own life force, and everyone makes their own decisions. And either I have to let God take that for me, or I'm going to shrink into a dark hole that I'm never going to come out of. And that's not going to happen. I'm not going to let that happen. So I have been working really hard to rebuild my relationship with God and with Jesus Christ, and going out on that leap of faith. Like here it says, how long will you hide your face from me? I have felt like that most of my life. And now I'm in a place where I don't feel that way.
No, so let me put it in perspective too. For me, I know some other people, right? And I'm sure over time we all know people like this who've lost their kids way too young, like lost them, right?
To a drug overdose.
To a drug overdose, or to a car accident,
gang violence, right?
Yeah, all of that stuff, right? And when I hear those stories, it minimizes my struggle, because that to me, that's the ultimate.
Oh my God.
I can't even, like, it's hard to even try to fathom what that would be like or feel like. I don't even know how.
It's our biggest fear.
Yeah, it is. And it's probably the biggest pain you could ever feel. And when I hear stories like that, it's like, well, who am I to complain? These people, And so, and like I had said earlier, like, what did I do in my life to deserve this to happen to me, this to happen to me? But I have so many other things in my life, and you do too, that are so good. It's like, what did we do to deserve that too? Because other people don't have those blessings that we have. So I think it's a matter of perspective. Sometimes we got to reel it back and say, like, look, I don't know why I have to go through these hard things. There's a reason why. There's a
Yeah.
plan that's beyond my understanding.
Yeah.
And but there's also blessings in my life that I don't deserve that are beyond my understanding too. Like, why did I get the ability to have two working arms and two working legs? Why did I get the ability to have a brain that functions well enough and have ambition to create something with my life?
I
How do
agree.
all these things that we get that we take for granted?
Yeah.
And the feeling forsaken by God, I think the serenity prayer is so cliche, but it's so valuable and so
Right.
powerful. It's like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I
I
can't
cannot
change,
change.
right?
Yeah.
There's certain things you can't change the decisions that your son makes. I can't change the decision that my son makes. Um, I want the courage to change the things that I can change. Like, am I going to be an enabler? Am I going to hold true to my values and myself? Am I going to allow this to suck the energy out of my life, or am I going to continue to let the wind push me forward?
Yeah.
And I want the wisdom to know the difference, because sometimes those lines do get blurry to me. And it's
Absolutely.
like, I want to make changes, but am I trying to change someone else? Am I trying to manipulate situations so that someone else's change, or am I focusing on what I have control over?
Exactly.
And those lines do get blurry, and it's hard. And I think
They do.
that's why having like fellowship or conversations like this
Absolutely.
is super helpful.
And I think also too, I think having the conversation with your kid where you, because we've all made mistakes as parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had my son when I was 17. I was like not a perfect mother by, by any means. Um, but I loved him more than anything.
Of
I
course.
was learning as he was growing up as I was growing up.
Yeah.
Um, and so of course there's a lot of guilt, and you feel like, what could I have done better, or I made this mistake or I made that mistake. And so through therapy, I was really able to sit down with him multiple times and make amends.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is I remember the first time I was bawling, apologizing to him for all the things that I felt that I had done wrong as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Mom, I don't even know what you're talking about."
Oh
He's
wow.
like, "You've done," like, he goes, "What I'm doing right now, it has nothing to do with you." And it's kind of set me free a little bit, because you do carry that as you see other families go about
Yeah.
their kids, everything seems fine, they're this big happy family. It's isolating, it's a dark place to be, and you're quietly carrying this torch, because for the women out there just like me that are the mother of an addict, like, we are a small collective group, and we really don't talk about it. It's embarrassing, or there's shame, or there's blame, or things like that. But I really think having the conversation with my son, asking him to forgive me if this is the reason why you're doing this, like, if I apologize to you, and he accepted it. But then what I really had to learn next was I had to forgive
Yeah,
myself.
that's the biggest part, right?
I
Yeah.
had to forgive myself, and that is the absolute hardest thing to do. And him being in prison, I'm thankful. And I talk to God a lot about that, because I know if he were to be on the streets, it would not be good. It
Yeah.
would not, it would be worse.
So for other moms out there, or dads, or family members
Sure.
who are feeling lost and that God has forsaken them, and that that they're in the woe is me mentality, right? Maybe rightfully so. What has helped you rebuild your relationship with Christ and your faith in God? Like, what steps have you taken that have helped that?
I mean, to be honest, like, brutally honest, I mean, I have had some of the worst possible things you can have happen in a human's life. I've had happen to me
Mm-hmm.
and to people around me, um, and I've had to restart my life over. It feels like 5 different times, and I could have. I think growing up in the rooms of NA, my dad was in recovery. Um, I think realizing that, you know, you can start over as many times as you want.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people come in and out of those rooms, with 30 years clean and sober, and then they relapse and lose it all.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot to say about, you know, when bad things are happening in your life and it is truly killing your soul and hurting you, you can either unpack and live there for the rest of your life, or you can get up because you know that you deserve better, or even fake it till you make it because you do deserve better and you do the work.
Yeah.
And if it takes it, like I've relapsed several times um, with this last thing that happened to my husband. He's now a paraplegic, um, but it's not the answer, you know. And how am I ever going to be a good mother to both of my children if I allow all of these feelings of hopelessness to just keep continually breaking me? So I realize that no matter how much life throws at me, that I have to have an anchor. I have to have something that I need a higher power. I have to have a higher power in order for me to live day in and day out. And so I went back out on this metaphorical cliff, and I just jumped off with faith and said, okay, like I may not be able to touch you or always see you, but like I know that you're there with me because I can feel him.
Yeah, and the fake it till you make it is another cliche saying, right? But it is powerful that even if you on days that you don't feel a strong faith,
Right.
like something that helps me, this is just what helps me. All I ever say is what's been beneficial to me. I'm not telling anyone what to do.
Sure, sure.
But praying every morning and giving thanks for the things I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
It sets the tone for my day. It sets my mind into focusing on the positive things in my life.
Yeah.
And then I always ask after I give thanks for the things I'm grateful for, I always ask for not for situations to change or for people to change, but for me to be able to navigate those with strength and humility and grace.
Absolutely.
And I just ask for that every day. And by doing that, it helps.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. Now, I'm definitely stumble, and that's why I ask for those things every day, right? Because I need a daily reminder
Sure, sure.
to think about the things I'm grateful for. But for me, just reminding myself of the blessings that are in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, it could be worse. It could always be worse. And I can focus on the things that are negative. And the other thing I really don't like is, and you made a great point earlier about it being there's shame and guilt and, embarrassment around having an addict as a child. But the reality is, if you look at the numbers, most families have an addict, right?
They do.
Most families are struggling with someone in the family that has a bad addiction.
Sure.
And if we can be more open and talk about this stuff, I think we'd be able to work through it better, which is great reason like for Al-Anon.
I was just going to say
Al-Anon is such a great resource for people like that. And I know more people need to take advantage of it. And even if they don't do anything official with Al-Anon, having conversations like we're having, listening to conversations like this and realizing, you guys are not alone.
No.
There's other people struggling with the exact same thing. And there's so much power in talking about these things with others who understand. Right?
Yeah. And I have a podcast called Feral Females Podcast, and I just recorded, I haven't dropped it yet, but I just recorded an episode about Julian. Oh, man, I probably shouldn't say his name, but and it's called Waiting. Because I feel like I'm waiting for him to love himself enough to find God.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for him to want to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for him ultimately to come back to us. So yeah.
Well, Moses spent 40 years in the desert waiting, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's not on our timeline, but
no, it honestly, it never really is. Yeah. And back to your point about being grateful and gratitude, there's scientific data that even proves that when you're listing out everything that is good in your life, it actually fires off, different chemicals in your brain that will make you happy, and it can set the tone for the entire day. Even if that day is the worst day ever, you have clean drinking water, you have shoes on your feet, you are not dying of a
terminal illness,
exactly. So sometimes even if you've got to dig real deep into the pocket of gratitude, it will honestly set the tone for the rest of the day. But if you're walking around and all you're doing is talking about or thinking about everything that's going to go wrong, it actually teaches your brain to be in fight or flight constantly.
Yeah, which is cortisol, stress, all that.
Cortisol.
And then hopelessness subsides, right?
Yeah.
Hopelessness prevails and like hope subsides. So we become less hopeful and more hopeless in our feelings. And if we can stay grateful for the things we're grateful for and keep praying, even when you feel like your faith is weak, that's when you should lean into prayer. I think that's when we need to lean into God, when we don't feel like or we're doubting his existence,
Yeah.
lean into prayer. And again, that's at least that's what's helped me, and it seems like
Right.
that's what helps a lot of people. If we look at the Bible tells us that, and I would just encourage people to try that. If you're struggling, try daily prayer, giving gratitude and giving thanks, and then asking for your strength for you personally to navigate the hardships of life and appreciate the ups. Right?
And leaning on him and asking him to take. So what I do is when I'm like buckling at the knees, I will say, God, this is way too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
I am just but a human on this planet. I need you to carry this. And I'll say it, please take this from me. Take this, and I cannot. And I will say it probably 4 or 5 times a day in that day. And I can feel a lightness, so it's really bringing it back to faith and bringing it back to believing in something that's higher than yourself.
And we have survived 100% of our hardest days.
Yes, we have. And we don't give ourselves credit.
100% of our hardest days we've gotten through, right?
Absolutely.
And how many times have you felt that you have way too much? It's way too much. You can't handle it, but yet you handle it and you survive. Right?
I mean, all the time. And I feel like we get amnesia. I feel like it's like, if you and I were to list all the things that we've been through and all the things that have happened and things that we've been involved in and where we are and how we rebounded each time, if we were to write the book of our life, we would be like, oh my God, like, but we don't ever do that. All we want to do is just pound on ourselves. And it's like, I'm done doing that, because it's moving me absolutely nowhere. And where I'm trying to go is somewhere completely different.
So for other women out there who want to connect with relatable women, where can we find you? You mentioned you had a podcast.
Yeah.
Where can we find that?
Yeah. So you can, so the Feral Females podcast is anywhere you find your podcasts at. Please like and subscribe. It's basically a platform for women who are caregivers or who have survived catastrophic events, either with the person that you care for or yourself and what makes you feral. I also have a blog called survivingwithstyle.com. There's a lot of resources on there. So yeah.
I will put all of these links in the description so that anyone who wants to dig further into this or get more, maybe connect more personally with Shauna here, we would love to have that resource for you.
Thank you.
And anything else to wrap this up? Because I think we did.
I just think God is good, and you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself even when you have to just fake it till you make it. Even when you feel in the days like you're not lovable, you are, and you are worthy, and you're on this planet for a reason, and you're a beautiful person.
Yep. The thoughts that say that anything to the contrary is the enemy, and we need to push the enemy out of our mind and out of our hearts by daily prayer and just remembering that, like Shauna said, you are worthy. You are worthy of love, and you are worthy of success, and these things you can have, even though sometimes it feels like we can't. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. This is another Faith Fitness Fridays. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.